Imagine waking up in a country where the fate of artificial intelligence is not shaped by a single unified policy, but instead by a wild patchwork of rules, each one drawn up by your own state's lawmakers. In this new reality, what is legal for a robot in Texas might be forbidden in Vermont. A chatbot in California could be required to explain its decisions, while its counterpart just across the border in Nevada might operate with total secrecy. This isn't some distant speculative future. It is unfolding right now in the halls of Congress and in the state houses across the United States. And the pivotal moment arrived with a single, late-night vote in the United States Senate, a decision that could determine who gets to write the rule book for the most powerful technology of our era, not just for the next year, but for the next decade and beyond. Let's rewind to the feverish energy of June in Washington, where the one big beautiful bill had become the talk of the town. This massive piece of legislation was supposed to be a landmark, addressing not only broadband access, but also digital privacy, tech competition, and, crucially, the rules governing artificial intelligence. At its core was a deeply divisive proposal, a 10-year freeze that would have blocked states from passing their own AI laws. The stakes? Any state that dared to create its own AI regulations risked losing out on $500 million in crucial broadband funding. This proposal did not come out of nowhere. The AI moratorium had first been unveiled by the powerful Senate Commerce, Science, and Transportation Committee in early June of 2025. As word spread, tensions erupted into a full-blown showdown. On one side stood a coalition of big tech lobbyists and their congressional allies, who argued that only a single, uniform set of federal rules could keep the United States ahead in the global AI race. They feared a confusing legal maze, 50 different sets of requirements that could smother innovation before it even got off the ground. On the other side were defenders of states' rights, a group that included everyone from fiery conservatives to progressive child safety advocates. They saw the moratorium as an assault on federalism, a dangerous giveaway to corporate interests that would tie the hands of local leaders for a generation. Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene, a staunch advocate for local control, found herself at the center of this storm. Initially, she had voted for the bill with the AI moratorium intact, but as the reality of the measure's implications became clear, she quickly changed course. Banning states from regulating AI for 10 years is a gift to big tech and a disaster for American workers and states' rights, she posted on social media, celebrating the Senate's eventual decision to strip out the provision as a huge win for federalism and the America First agenda. Senator Marsha Blackburn of Tennessee, another key player, became the face of opposition in the Senate. Although she initially supported a compromise that would have reduced the ban from 10 years to 5, she ultimately withdrew her support, declaring that the revised language still failed to respect the rights of states to protect their own citizens. Meanwhile, Senator Ted Cruz, one of the most vocal defenders of the federal moratorium, warned that without a national bloc, the United States was inviting a wave of European-style regulation at the state level, rules that he argued would undermine innovation, slow economic growth, and hand a competitive edge to rivals like China and the European Union. The rhetoric reached a fever pitch as state attorneys general, child safety groups, and civil liberties advocates lined up against the proposed moratorium. They warned that the measure would strip away the ability of states to act quickly in the face of new threats, from deepfake scams and AI-driven fraud to algorithmic bias in hiring and policing. States are the first line of defense for our families and communities, argued one coalition of attorneys general in an open letter to Congress. We cannot afford to wait a decade for Washington to act while our citizens are put at risk by rapidly evolving technologies. The Senate's climactic vote, an overwhelming 99-1 in favor of removing the moratorium, sent shockwaves through the tech industry. It was a near-unanimous rebuke of the centralized approach favored by big tech and a signal that, for the first time, the rules governing artificial intelligence in America might be written at the local level, one state at a time. So, what happens now? The bill, having been dramatically rewritten by the Senate, bounced back to the House of Representatives for final approval. In the tech world, the response was a mixture of panic and anticipation. Major industry leaders, speaking on background, warned that a patchwork of state laws could turn the United States into a regulatory minefield. Imagine an AI-powered healthcare app developed in Massachusetts, now forced to undergo costly and time-consuming rewrites to comply with separate standards in Texas, Georgia, or Illinois. An executive from a leading AI company, unwilling to be quoted by name, captured the mood. Fragmented regulation risks smothering innovation before it can scale. If America can't offer a clear path to market, companies will take their new products and jobs elsewhere. Let's take a moment to imagine how this new era might play out on the ground. In one scenario, every state becomes its own laboratory for artificial intelligence governance. California, long a leader in tech policy, might require companies to publish every detail of their algorithms, making sure that AI decisions can be explained and challenged. New Jersey could mandate that AI systems used in hiring be audited for racial and gender bias, providing new protections for job seekers. Meanwhile, Texas could focus on ensuring that AI-driven services remain affordable and accessible, especially in rural communities. At the same time, states like Utah or Tennessee might prioritize rapid deployment of AI in healthcare or education, betting that fewer rules will spur faster progress and attract big investments. The result? A dizzying array of experiments, successes, and failures. 50 different approaches to regulating the technology that will shape everything from our jobs and schools to our privacy and safety. This laboratories of democracy model has a long history in the United States. A century ago, state-level experiments with utility regulation, labor laws, and even environmental protections often paved the way for later federal action. Sometimes these experiments led to breakthroughs that changed the world. Other times they produced cautionary tales, policies that failed spectacularly and warned others away from repeating the same mistakes. But there is a catch, and it should not be underestimated. The patchwork of state laws could create extraordinary challenges for companies trying to build and scale AI products. Imagine a startup in Florida that develops an innovative AI tool to help teachers grade student essays. In order to expand to Illinois, the company might need to redesign its software to comply with strict transparency and student privacy rules. Moving into California could mean hiring a specialized legal team just to navigate the state's complex requirements for algorithmic accountability. The costs add up, and for smaller companies, the burden could be crippling. Yet many experts argue that the risks of fragmentation are balanced by significant opportunities. State-level action can provide rapid responses to emerging threats, like deepfakes used in political campaigns or AI-powered scams targeting the elderly. Local lawmakers, with their proximity to the people they represent, can tailor rules to address the specific needs and values of their communities. In states where the public is especially concerned about children's privacy or workplace automation, stronger safeguards might be put in place more quickly than would ever be possible through a slow-moving Congress. This dynamic isn't new. In the early days of the internet, states took the lead in protecting consumer privacy, long before Washington got involved. California's landmark Consumer Privacy Act, for example, set a national standard that was eventually copied by other states and influenced federal proposals. In the realm of environmental regulation, state experiments with emissions standards and renewable energy mandates helped drive national progress. And when it comes to digital currencies, states like Wyoming and New York developed their own licensing systems for crypto startups, often ahead of federal regulators. What practical lessons can we take from this shifting landscape? First, whether you work in tech, use AI tools, or are simply a concerned citizen, you will need to pay close attention to your state's policies. The age of a single national rulebook is over, at least for now. As a consumer, you may find that your favorite AI-powered apps behave differently depending on where you live. A digital assistant in Oregon might be required to disclose when it is making a decision that affects your finances, while the same assistant in Alabama could operate with fewer restrictions. For parents, this could mean stronger controls on how AI systems interact with children in some states, but not others. For entrepreneurs and business leaders, this era presents both challenge and opportunity. Companies that can quickly adapt to new state rules, or even help shape them through advocacy and collaboration, may gain a first-mover advantage. Legal teams will become more important than ever, guiding product design and marketing to ensure compliance across a constantly shifting landscape. But the risk of regulatory whiplash is real. Rules that change overnight, legal battles between states and companies, and the constant threat of being shut out of key markets if you fail to keep up. Policymakers, too, face a daunting task. As the patchwork grows more complex, calls for federal action will only intensify. Some experts, like Neil Chilson of the Abundance Institute, argue that only Washington can strike the right balance between fostering innovation and protecting the public. We need federal leadership to provide clarity and certainty, he says. The alternative is chaos, confusion, and missed opportunities. There are, however, risks of a so-called race to the bottom, where states weaken their rules to attract companies, potentially undermining important safeguards. History is full of examples where lax state regulation led to crises. Think of the financial deregulation that contributed to the savings and loan crisis in the 1980s, or the patchwork of health insurance rules that left millions without adequate coverage before the Affordable Care Act. The challenge will be finding the right balance, allowing states to innovate and respond quickly, while ensuring that basic standards of safety, privacy, and fairness are upheld across the country. Whatever the outcome, one thing is clear. The debate over who gets to govern artificial intelligence is far from over. The defeat of the 10-year moratorium in Congress was not the end, but merely a turning point. Already, nearly every state has filed at least one new AI-related bill in the weeks since the Senate vote. Legislators are holding hearings, consulting with experts, and listening to the concerns of workers, parents, and business owners. The race to define the future of artificial intelligence in America is officially on, and the finish line is nowhere in sight. So, what does all of this mean for you? If you want to stay ahead in this new era of AI governance, now is the time to get informed, get involved, and maybe even make your voice heard in your own state house. Pay attention to what your lawmakers are proposing. Ask questions about how new rules will affect your job, your privacy, your children, and your community. Consider reaching out to advocacy groups, joining public forums, or even attending town hall meetings where these issues are being debated. If you work in technology, think creatively about how to build flexible, adaptable products that can thrive in a world of shifting regulations. Build relationships with policymakers and community leaders, and look for ways to contribute to the development of smart, effective rules that protect people without stifling progress. For educators and parents, stay vigilant about how AI is being used in schools and at home. For business leaders, consider investing not just in technology, but in legal and policy expertise that can help you navigate this new landscape. Above all, remember that this is a moment of both uncertainty and possibility. The chaos unleashed by 50 different AI regimes could, at first, bewilder businesses and frustrate users. But it also opens the door for creative breakthroughs and more responsive regulation, solutions that may arise only because states are free to experiment, take risks, and learn from each other. As a voter and a resident, you have more power than ever to shape how artificial intelligence will impact your daily life. Your state's decisions in the coming months and years will help determine whether AI is used to empower people, protect communities, and drive economic growth, or whether it becomes a source of confusion, inequity, and lost opportunity. So, does this fragmented system empower innovation and safety, or will it cripple American competitiveness and confuse the industry? The answer isn't black and white. History suggests that progress often comes from debate, disagreement, and bold experimentation. America's tech future will depend on whether states use this moment to protect their citizens, while still giving inventors room to dream. Here's a little-known fact. The very week Congress scrapped the 10-year moratorium, nearly every state legislature filed at least one new bill aimed at regulating or promoting artificial intelligence. From coast to coast, lawmakers are racing to define the rules for the 21st century's most powerful technology. And as this story continues to unfold, there is one thing we know for certain. The choices made today will echo for generations. What do you think? Will state-by-state AI regulation turn out to be a success story of American innovation, or is chaos just around the corner? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe for more deep dives into the technology and economics